The soft, rhythmic squeak of rubber wheels on polished concrete was the only sound that belonged to them. In the cavernous, glass wall halls of Aryan Dynamics, a company that breathed innovation and exhaled the future, Sarah Washington and her daughter, Maya, were ghosts. They moved through cathedral technology after the sun had set, after the brilliant minds had all gone home, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive coffee and intellectual exhaustion. Sarah pushed her janitorial cart, its contents of sprays and cloths a humble arsenal against the day's grime. Her movements were a testament to 20 years of practice efficiency, a quiet ballet of wiping down surfaces that held the fingerprints of men who designed rockets but couldn't be bothered to find a trash can. Beside her, Maya, 17 years old with eyes that held a galaxy of thoughts, was not just helping her mother. She was studying. Her gaze didn't linger on the smudges or the dust. It devoured the schematics left on white boards, the snippets of code on discarded printouts, the very architecture of a place she was meant to only clean. She wore oversized headphones, not to listen to music, but to absorb audiobooks on quantum computing and advanced robotics, her own secret university conducted in the sterile silence of the night. Her phone, a cracked but functional device, was her library, filled with downloaded academic papers and open-source programming manuals. Tonight, the air in the main R&D hangar was different. It was thick with a tension that clung to the air like static. In the center of the vast space, under a halo of unforgiving LED lights, sat the Odyssey. It was Arian's magnum opus, a fully autonomous electric vehicle that looked less like a car and more like a vessel sculpted from liquid mercury. It was silent, beautiful, and utterly, stubbornly broken. Mr. Alistair Finch, the head of vehicle intelligence, stood before it, his bespoke suit a dark slash against the white floor. His face, usually a mask of smug satisfaction, was pinched with frustration. He was speaking to his team, his voice a low, serrated growl that carried through the hangar. For 2 weeks, it's been a brick. A $200 million art installation. The diagnostic shows nothing. The network is clean. The hardware is perfect. Yet, every time we initiate the primary navigation sequence, it crashes. Not just a reboot, a full system core seizure. It's like a ghost in the machine, and frankly, it's making us all look like amateurs. Maya, emptying a trash bin 100 feet away, paused. Her mother gently nudged her. "Don't stare, honey. Keep your head down." It was the mantra of their existence here. Be invisible. Be silent. Do the job. But Maya couldn't look away. She had seen the Odyssey before, from a distance. Up close, it was magnificent. She could feel the power thrumming beneath its skin, a dormant beast. While Finch and his team saw a failure, Maya saw a puzzle, a complex knot of logic waiting for the right fingers to unpick it. She had read the public-facing white papers on its operating system, proprietary neural network named Deadless. She knew, in theory, how it was supposed to think. Finch ran a hand through his perfectly coiffed silver hair. "Vance is flying in from Zurich tomorrow for the demonstration. If we can't show him a functioning prototype, he's going to pull the plug. My head will be on the block, and I promise you it will roll downhill." He jabbed a finger at a young engineer. "Did you rerun the kernel integrity check?" "6 times, sir," the engineer mumbled. "It comes back clean." "Then it's not clean enough." Finch snapped. He kicked a stray power cable, his frustration finally boiling over. "I don't care how you do it. Bribe a ghost, pray to the tech gods. I don't care. Fix it. I'm going for a walk before I throw a monitor through this $2 million window." He stormed off, his expensive shoes clicking angrily on the floor. He passed Sarah and Maya without a glance, as if they were nothing more than fixtures, a cart and its attendant. But in his haste, something slipped from his inner suit pocket, a thin, black rectangle, his level 5 security pass. It skittered across the floor and came to rest near the wheel of Sarah's cart. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She saw it. Her mother saw her see it. Sarah quickly moved the cart, covering the car with its shadow. "Leave it, Maya," she whispered, her voice tight with fear. "We don't touch anything. We don't get involved." "But, Mom," Maya started, her eyes wide with a dawning, terrifying idea. "I think I know what's wrong with it." "You think?" "Honey, these are the smartest people in the world. They get paid more in a month than I make in 3 years. If they can't fix it, what makes you think you can? Because they're looking at it like a hardware problem or a virus, Maya said, her voice dropping to an excited whisper. But Deadless isn't a normal OS. It's a learning network. They're running the same diagnostic over and over, expecting a different result. They're treating it like a machine. But what if it's stuck? Like a thought loop, an obsession, a logical paradox it can't solve. So it just shuts down to protect itself. Sarah looked from her daughter's blazing eyes to the impossibly complex machine in the center of the room. She saw danger. She saw the end of her job, the only thing that kept a roof over their heads. No, it's not our place. We clean the floors. That's all. She pushed the cart forward, but Maya didn't move. The weight of her mother's fear was a physical thing, but the pull of that puzzle, the silent call of that broken machine, was stronger. The engineers, demoralized, began packing up their laptops at night, their shoulders slumped in defeat. Soon, the hangar would be empty, just them the ghosts and the beautiful, broken beast. Later that night, long after the last engineer had gone, Sarah was cleaning the executive washrooms on the top floor. Maya was supposed to be helping, but she had vanished. A cold, dread washed over Sarah. She knew exactly where her daughter was. She rushed back down to the R&D hangar, her heart a frantic drum. And there she was, bathed in the glow of the Odyssey's open cockpit screen. Maya sat in the driver's seat, her fingers a blur across a holographic interface. She had retrieved Finch's key card. She had let herself in. Maya, get out of there right now. Sarah's whisper was a shriek of panic. Do you know what they'll do to us? They'll say we were stealing corporate espionage. We'll lose everything. Just 5 more minutes, Mom, Maya pleaded, not taking her eyes off the cascading lines of code. I found it. It's not a loop, it's a recursive echo. A piece of corrupted sensor data from an early test run. A shadow on the road that it misidentified as a child. The system resolved the threat by swerving, but the data was never properly purged. So every time it boots up the primary navigation system, it rereads that corrupted file. It relives the event. To the AI, there's always a child in the road it can't save. It's a paradox. Its core directive is to preserve human life, but it's caught in a situation where it believes it failed. So it crashes to prevent itself from failing again. Sarah stood frozen, the technical jargon flying over her head. All she understood was the magnitude of her daughter's transgression. But then she looked at Maya's face. She had never seen her daughter look like this. Not in school, not at home. She looked alive, plugged into the universe. Her expression won a pure, unadulterated focus. She wasn't a cleaner's daughter. She was a conductor leading an orchestra of light and logic. I'm not hacking it, Mom, Maya said softly, as if sensing her mother's conflict. I'm talking to it. I've isolated the corrupted memory block. I just need to create a secure partition, move the file, and then write a new subroutine to make the system recognize it as a historical anomaly, not a current threat. It's like therapy for an AI. With a final few keystrokes, she entered command. The screens in the cockpit flickered. The low, mournful hum of the dormant engine changed pitch, rising into a steady, healthy thrum. A soft blue light pulsed along the car's chassis, and the dashboard lit up with a single, elegant message. Systems nominal. Ready? Maya leaned back in a ridiculously comfortable seat, a small, triumphant smile on her face. She had done it. The sound of the main hangar door sliding open made both of their hearts stop. A security guard stood silhouetted against the hallway lights. Hey, who's in there? This area is on lockdown. Sarah grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her out of the car. We have to go. Now. They scrambled away, leaving the key card on a workbench near the door. They didn't look back. They melted back into the shadows, their hearts pounding a rhythm of pure terror. They finished their shift in a blur of fear and adrenaline, the squeak of the cart's wheels now sounding like a scream in the silence. The next morning, Alistair Finch walked into the R&D hangar, expecting to find a disaster. Instead, he found the Odyssey, purring like a contented panther, its lights glowing with life. His engineers were gathered around it, their faces a mixture of disbelief and elation. What happened? Finch demanded. "We don't know, sir," one of them said. "We came in this morning and it was just on. We run every diagnostic. It's perfect. It's more than perfect. The response time of the navigation AI is up by 12%. The code is cleaner, more elegant." Finch's mind raced. One of his team must have stayed late, had a breakthrough, and wanted to surprise him. A brilliant move. It made him look good. He clapped his hand together, a broad, false smile spreading across his face. "Excellent. I knew you could do it. I knew that pushing you would yield results. Good work, team. I'll be sure to tell Mr. Vance that my team pulled an all-nighter to save his flagship project." He confidently strode toward the boardroom, ready to claim his victory. He felt a surge of triumph. He had faced the abyss and emerged, once again, the hero. The boardroom at Arian Dynamics was a place of immense power. It overlooked the entire campus from the 30th floor, a glass-walled cage where fortunes were made and careers were broken. Julian Vance, the CEO and founder, sat at the head of the long, obsidian table. He wasn't a physically imposing man, but he radiated an aura of such intense, focused energy that it seemed to bend the room around him. He had built this empire from a garage, and he had no tolerance for failure. "Alistair," Vance said, his voice quiet but carrying immense weight, "I was prepared for a very different meeting today. Your report says the Odyssey is fully operational. You're telling me you solved an unsolvable problem in less than 12 hours. "That's correct, Julian," Finch said, preening. "My team is the best in the world. We located a subtle recursive error in the core memory and patched it overnight. A bit of elbow grease and ingenuity. That's all it took." Vance steepled his fingers, his eyes unreadable. "That's fascinating, because I just spoke with my head of security. He tells me there was an unauthorized access event in the R&D hangar at 2:17 a.m., an access event that lasted exactly 28 minutes, after which the vehicle's internal diagnostics registered a full system reboot and recovery." The blood drained from Finch's face. "Unauthorized? That must be a mistake. It was one of my engineers." "Was it?" Vance said, his voice dangerously soft. He nodded to an aide. "Roll the footage." The massive screen on the wall flickered to life. It showed a high-angle black and white security feed of the hangar. Finch watched in horror as the footage showed a young black girl, the cleaner's daughter. He realized with a sickening lurch in his stomach, slip into the cockpit of the $200 million prototype. He saw her hands dance across the interface. He saw the car spring to life. He saw her mother rush in terrified and pull her away. The room was silent. The faces of the other executives were a mixture of shock and confusion. Finch felt the floor fall away from beneath him. His perfectly constructed world was shattering. "My team is still trying to understand the code she wrote," Vance continued, his gaze fixed on Finch. "They're calling it the Washington Protocol, a 24-line subroutine so elegant, so intuitive. It not only fixed a paradox, but also streamlined the entire learning algorithm. It's a work of art, something your entire department, with a budget of $80 million a year, failed to even conceive of." He paused, letting the words hang in the air. "So, Alistair, I'd like you to tell me again. How exactly did your team fix my car?" Finch opened his mouth, but no words came out. He was a statue of guilt, his arrogance stripped away, leaving only a pathetic, exposed core deceit. "Get Sarah and Maya Washington," Vance said to his aide. "Bring them up here. Now." 15 minutes later, Sarah and Maya stood in the doorway of the boardroom. They were still in their cleaning uniforms. Sarah was trembling, her eyes fixed on the floor, expecting the worst. Maya stood beside her, her fear palpable, but her chin was held high. She had done something wrong, but she had also done something right, and the two feelings were at war within her. Vance stood up and walked toward them. His face was not angry. It was intensely curious. He looked past Finch, who seemed to have shrunk in his expensive suit. "Maya Washington?" Vance asked, his voice gentle. Maya nodded, unable to speak. "I'm Julian Vance. The code you wrote last night, it was extraordinary. My best people are still trying to figure out how you did it. Can you explain it to me?" All eyes in the room turned to the 17-year-old girl in the gray janitor's smock. Finch stared at her, a venomous look of betrayal on his face. Mr. Vance, she trespassed. She tampered with company property. She should be arrested. Vance held up a hand, silencing him without even looking at him. His eyes remained locked on Maya. Please, he said. Maya took a deep breath, the smell of floor cleaner and fear clinging to her. She looked at the screen where her code was now displayed, and she began to speak. Her voice, hesitant at first, grew stronger and clearer as she found her footing. She didn't use jargon. She used analogies. She described the AI's problem not as a bug, but as a form of trauma. She explained how she didn't force a solution, but guided the system to heal itself. She spoke of logic and empathy, of code and compassion. When she finished, the boardroom was utterly silent. The executives, men and women who dealt in billions of dollars in global strategy, looked at this girl in awe. She hadn't just fixed a car. She had shown them a new way of thinking. Vance finally broke the silence. He turned to Finch, and his voice was cold as the vacuum of space. You, sir, are a fraud. You are a gatekeeper. You stand at the door of innovation, and you only let in people who look and sound just like you. You had a diamond in your own building, polishing your floors, and you were too blind and too arrogant to see it. Pack your things. You're finished at Arian. Finch sputtered, his face turning a blotchy red, but the look in Vance's eyes was absolute. He turned and slunk out of the room, a man utterly defeated. Then Vance turned back to Maya, his expression softening. A smile touched his lips. That was the most brilliant systems analysis I've heard in a decade. Maya, I would like to offer you a job. A senior position in the Deadless Project. We'll pay you a starting salary of $200,000, full benefits, stock options, you name it. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes. This was it. The miracle they had never dared to pray for. But Maya didn't smile. She stood her ground, her gaze steady. Thank you, Mr. Vance. That's a very generous offer. She took a breath. And in that moment, she was no longer a scared teenager. She was a force. But a job isn't the answer. Not the whole answer. Vance looked surprised. I'm sorry. For my whole life, Maya said, her voice ringing with a power she didn't know she possessed, I've watched my mother work. I've watched her clean up after people who don't see her. They don't see her intelligence, her dignity, her exhaustion. She is invisible to them. You talk about innovation, about the future. But your company, this whole building, is running on an old code. A code that says people who look like us, people who clean your floors, are worthless. You didn't see me until I fixed your expensive toy. Mr. Finch didn't see me. No one did. What happens to the next person like me, who doesn't get a lucky chance to sit in a prototype car? What happens to all the hidden genius that you throw out with the trash every night? She looked at her mother, whose tears were now flowing freely, tears of shock and pride. You want to hire me, but what you need to do is fix your own company. You need to fix your own code. Julian Vance stood very still. He looked at Maya, then at her mother. He looked around the boardroom at his senior staff, who were all avoiding his gaze. He saw the truth in her words, a truth so sharp and clear it cut him to the bone. He had built an empire of the future on a foundation of the past. He had created a culture where a man like Finch could thrive and a mind like Maya's could be overlooked. He let out a long, slow breath. He wasn't the CEO anymore. He was just a man being shown his own reflection, and he was humbled by it. You're right, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You are absolutely 100% right. He walked over to Sarah. Mrs. Washington, he said, his voice full of respect no one in this building had ever shown her. I am profoundly sorry. Your daughter has taught me a lesson I should have learned long ago. Then he turned back to Maya. Okay, let's rewrite the code. A job isn't enough. Here's my new offer. Arian will provide you with a full 4-year scholarship to any university in the world. MIT, Stanford, Cambridge, your choice. All expenses paid. While you study, you will be on retainer as a lead consultant for our new R&D division, which you will help me create. We'll call it the Odyssey Initiative, and its sole purpose will be to find and cultivate talent from unconventional places. high schools in underserved neighborhoods, community colleges, trade schools. We will find invisible geniuses. You will have a staff and a budget, and your starting consulting fee will be double the salary I just offered. As for your mother, he said, looking at Sarah with a warm smile, she is now promoted to a new, salaried position. Supervisor workplace environment and dignity, with a mandate to ensure every single employee in this company, from the boardroom to the mailroom, is treated with the respect they deserve, effective immediately. Maya stared at him, speechless. She looked at her mom, who was now openly sobbing, a lifetime of being overlooked washing away in a tide of joyous disbelief. Maya felt her own eyes well up. It wasn't just a victory. It was justice. It was a system, for once, not just being beaten, but being changed. She nodded, a single, decisive movement. "Okay, Mr. Vance," she said, her voice clear. "Let's get to work." The world is full of invisible people, their brilliance hidden in plain sight, their potential swept under the rug of assumption and privilege. We are taught to look for genius in polished resumes and Ivy League degrees, to listen for it in confident voices in sterile boardrooms. But real genius, the kind that can change the world, often resides in the quiet corners, in the minds of those who see the world from the ground up. The story of Maya Washington is a reminder that a person's worth is not defined by their uniform, their job title, or the smudges they are paid to wipe away. It is defined by the fire in their mind and the courage in their heart. It proves that sometimes the one who cleans a house is the only one who truly knows how to fix it. Thank you for watching. If you believe that talent has no color and opportunity should have no gatekeepers, subscribe for more stories where truth confronts power and the unseen finally get their voice.